We're living together, but still it's farewell. And maybe we'll come back to earth and tell. I guess there is no one to blame. We're leaving ground. Will things ever be the same again? It's the final countdown. The final countdown. Oh, we're headed for Venus, and still we stand tall. 'Cause maybe they've seen us and welcome us all, yeah. With so many light years to go and things to be found. I'm sure that we all miss her so. It's the final countdown. The final countdown. The final countdown. It's the final countdown. The final countdown. The final countdown. It's the final countdown. We're living together. The final countdown. We all miss you so. It's the final countdown. It's the final countdown.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the episode. This is the Sports Cave. Your co-host Robbie. Let's bring along the co-host Zach Roden. First try, and we're good. What's up, Zachary? How are you doing, buddy? Oh, I got you muted.
I was just
Boom.
going to say I'm still muted, but your
But you can unmute yourself, can't you?
echoes. Oh, yeah, I probably could have just clicked it myself.
Is there
But you know what? We're here.
Is there still echoes?
No, I had an echo. My echo feature was on. We're here, Robbie. We're here. It's another Monday night.
It is.
In
It
the
just like
Sports
the
Cave.
song says, it's the final countdown.
Yes.
It is the final countdown. What we got going on here? We got the number one. What is that? His face?
Yeah, that's Bob. That's Bob posting a bunch of mini Bobs for those of you just listening. Honestly, Bob,
That's a pretty cool feature.
one
I'm
of my
jealous.
favorite emojis we see in the show right there. So let's go indeed. As Robbie said, it is the final countdown. 2 teams left for the Stanley Cup. 2 teams left for the NBA championship. Robbie, it's a very exciting time, but it's also
A
a very sad time.
Yep. Always is. Always is.
I mean, we are less than 2 weeks away from having no more hockey and no more basketball. And but before we get into this, before we get into all this, I got one problem I'd like to bring up, and it has something to do with the fucking imbeciles that do the scheduling for this.
Mhm.
Why do we have no games on until Thursday? Both series have been decided. You know what I mean? The NBA one has been decided for fucking what seems like a week, but yet here we are. Still, what do they start? Thursday? And then I believe hockey starts the Saturday.
Well, it all depends, too, with other shows possibly going on at the arenas and just a way of, like, making sure that their equipment is all set up and to date, just make sure there's no malfunctions or anything. Because let's not remember, it wasn't that long ago where the World Series, literally, there was no game shown because there was a malfunction with Fox and they had to borrow MLB Network's equipment to make sure the game could be televised. So they probably take extra precautions now ever since that incident.
I guess that makes sense. To me, it's just like, I guess I'm speaking from the salty sports
No,
fan
and
myself.
I agree with you, but you can't have one of those malfunctions happening and everyone's just waiting for the game to pop back on, and you're just looking. It says,
Well,
"Please."
it's 2024. These fuckers should have they should have this figured out by now.
You're right, but there are also that like to hack into our system.
Cocksuckers. But Robbie, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna pull up our notes here. We actually have a pretty stacked Monday show.
At this time, we got to make sure we get to the NFL.
I was just gonna say, if you want, we can even start with it. Just so we make sure. It's up to you. I know it's not exactly the most happening sport going right now.
I would love to start off, and for all these listeners,
we just want to take this moment to salute you.
The greatest Robbie, you sexy bastard.
How are you gonna call my dad sexy, but then you
He's a
insult?
sexy bastard. Well, Robbie, I have the football notes posted up right here. And if you'd like,
first.
Pardon me?
Son of a gun, Zachary. I'm gonna see if I can do this as quick as I can.
What happened?
Nothing. I got to make sure they don't see our. They didn't see it. We're good. Are we frozen? Oh nope, we're not good. Now we're good.
Was there a word there that shouldn't have been there?
No. Nope.
Okay.
That situation has been taken care of.
That's gonna make sure.
If we're going to the NFL, then we might as well. Cracking the beer to that.
NFL football, Mr. Robbie Clark. We have some sizable signings here, Robbie. If you were a wide receiver, then this was your week. It seems like for the contracts in the NFL, starting off with the Houston Texans, Mr. Nico Collins had a breakout year last year with the Texans, signs a 3-year, $72.75 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. Robbie, I understand Nico Collins had a great year last year. I understand where these contracts are going. Is this a bit of an overpayment, we think, maybe?
No, I don't think so, because, when you're looking at the wide receiver money now, the top tier receivers are making over $30 million a year. And there's someone that we got to talk about a little bit later on, which everybody knows, but we're going to get to that a little bit later on. Nico Collins proved to be the number one option over there in Houston. Tank Dell was great, but he suffers a lot of injuries. And, you don't know what you're going to get out of Stephon Diggs, but the one thing you do know is Nico Collins, even when they were absolutely horrific, and Davis Mills was his quarterback. That dude is a baller. So, and only $50 million of it guaranteed, so it comes to a little bit over $16 million a year before the incentives. I think it's a very, very good contract.
Yeah, I guess when you put it that way, it's not too bad, especially when I go through the next man's contract that he just signed. And I'm not taking anything away from Jalen Waddle. He's the next guy we're going to talk about here, Robbie, because obviously he's a great player. But a 3-year extension worth $84.75 million, $76 million guaranteed for a number 2 receiver on a team, Robbie. I understand. He probably would be a number 1 on a lot of teams.
My team, for sure.
But we're talking about a number 2 next to Tyreek Hill. That's a fucking boatload of money to give a number 2. I guess you could kind of look at Nico. As you said about Stephon Diggs, we don't know, but he could potentially end up being a number 2 if Diggs is able to regain some of his old form. But Yeah, that's a lot of money for Waddle, Robbie. $76 million guaranteed. More guaranteed money than Nico Collins' contract is worth as a total. And it's almost all fully guaranteed, which is, I mean, I'm going to assume it's pretty rare for a wide receiver.
Well, let's look at his numbers here. I don't know how good you can actually see it. Should I go with this one instead?
Let me pop up this
That
baby
better?
here.
That one's
Yeah,
probably
I can
better.
see that.
Okay. Well, when you look at the numbers here, Zachary, his rookie season, 1,000 receiving yards. Sophomore season, in 17 games played, over 1,000 receiving yards. Last year, in 14 games played, because I believe he was dealing with a nursing hamstring injury or concussion, it was one of the two, over 1,000 receiving yards. Although this guy's your number 2 option, he's getting over 1,000 yards per game. And who knows how much longer Tyreek Hill is going to end up playing in the NFL. So I think that, not to mention, he was a top 10 pick, I believe. It's on here. Let's see. First round, 6th overall. I mean, this guy is a baller. And this guy was one of Tua's receivers over in Alabama. So they have that connection. They click. And you don't want him to leave Tua because they have that chemistry. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a reach. I think that this guy has the potential to be better than Tyreek Hill. I seriously do. He's growing compared to his rookie season. He's grown a couple inches. He's gaining muscle. He's still fast as hell.
Oh, Ryan, welcome to the show, brother.
Army Wolf is back.
Well, Robbie, I guess when you fucking put it that way, I guess you've kind of changed my mind now about these contracts.
So am I going to change your mind every single contract?
No, because this one, Robbie, this next contract we're going to talk about
It-
needs no changing, no explanation. It needs nothing, Robbie. And that is the man that had just set the precedence, not even for wide receivers, Robbie, but for players that do not play the quarterback position.
Hmm?
Mr. Justin Jefferson,
Mm.
4 years, $140 million, $110 million guaranteed. I believe I read it earlier today that is the biggest contract signed to a player, not a quarterback in NFL history. Hope I'm right on that.
I'll get that information for you.
But I mean, regardless, Robbie, 4 years, $140 million, $110 million guaranteed. Like, wow, what a contract! I mean, well deserved. I don't think there's anyone that's gonna. Obviously, it's a lot of money, but excuse me, we're talking about a guy, Justin Jefferson here, who just lost his franchise quarterback and is now probably looking here, going, okay, well, I'm probably not gonna win a championship in my career now because who the fuck's gonna be throwing me the football? So why don't I just try to sign and stay with Minnesota and make the most amount of money you could ever see in your entire life? You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
I mean, he very well easily could have went anywhere he wanted to. If he wanted to win, take a bit of a price, even for a year. You know, go somewhere for a year or two, take a price reduction. But clearly, this guy is trying to set himself up, his family up, his children up, his children's children, and then their children up as well, Robbie. And you sign a contract like that, you're doing a fucking pretty goddamn good job.
Well, dude, what kind of? Of course he's doing a good job. You jagaloon. Of course he is, bro.
Okay. What word is that? Jagaloon.
I thought it was a pretty funny word if you ask me. I'm trying to
Word's
see.
pretty.
The only
word's
thing.
pretty gay to me. Happy
The only
Pride
thing-
Month.
The only thing. The only thing I've seen. Oh, here it is. $35 million per season. That AAV is $1 million more than previous non-quarterback record. Nick
we
Bosa. So
go.
yes, he has the highest AAV
Well deserved.
over Nick Bosa. Absolutely, I agree. I'll tell you what. I think it's a great contract, but I also think that this is also a way for him to get out of Minnesota in like 2 to 3 years. And I'll tell you why, because Minnesota's offer asking price for him was through the roof. And it's also completely understandable. I mean, this guy is a generational talent. I mean, he's going to be up there in greatest wide receiver talk history of the Vikings with Chris Carter, with Randy Moss. I don't know if you want to throw Percy Harvin in there. I mean, this guy is incredible. But the one thing that wouldn't help his case is the asking price of the amount of first-round picks that the Vikings would want. Now, with this contract that he's taken on, where he's making $35 million a year, I believe guaranteed, it's going to lower that price if it gets to the point where J.J. McCarthy doesn't work out or Sam Darnold doesn't work out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be a favorable in both sides. And Justin Jefferson for the amount of money he's going to make, like you said, setting up his entire family for generations, and for the Vikings in case like it's time to rebuild, it's time to go another direction, take on this contract, and we're going to have to suffer not 4 or 5 first-round picks. We'll get 1 or 2.
Yeah, the guaranteed is $27.5 million a year. The 35 million a year AAV was with all the added bonuses and such added in there. So
10-4, but he's still making a shit.
Yeah. And Robbie, this kind of does lead us into a very I guess kind of important question.
Wait. Before you do it.
Uh-huh.
Reset it.
How about them Cowboys?
Yes, Bob, you just alluded to it in the comments here. For those just listening audio, those just listening via Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you listen to your podcast. Bob is writing in the comments here. CD Lamb just said, "Now time to pay me, Jerry, Robbie," and that is exactly what we're going to talk about next year. Now, CD Lamb is seeing, especially this week alone, one massive name, the 3 big names sign. Jesus Christ, I'm gassy. Sign big time extensions.
Burping into the microphone like a farm animal.
Sign big time extensions. And he's probably sitting there going, well, where the fuck's mine? Where's my bag? And I ask you this, Robbie. Now, after seeing all 3 of these contracts, what kind of number are we? What's like a comparable here between these 3? Because there are 3 pretty different contracts here when it comes down to the guarantees and all this.
Mm.
Are we thinking? I'd probably have to put it as close to probably a Jalen Waddle contract.
I think
Maybe-
as an AJ Brown.
Like obviously more money than Waddle, but I'm saying it's going to be in that sort of vicinity. It's not going to be anywhere near what Jefferson got, and if that does happen, that's a big mistake.
Major mistake for the
CeeDee
Cowboys.
Lamb's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but we're talking about a once in a lifetime talent in Justin Jefferson.
Okay, I'm going to give you a start, bench, and cut here. Okay, a start, bench, and cut. You ready?
10-4.
Who should the Cowboys pay a ton of money for first? Okay, that means that they're going to pay them over. So Justin Jefferson's $35 million. They're going to pay over that, and one of them is a quarterback, obviously. So I ask you, start, bench, and cut. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, or Micah Parsons? Who would you pay first, being the start, and who would you not pay the cut?
This is easy. This is so easy. Starting Micah, benching Lamb. I am cutting Dak, who sucks on butt crack. See you later.
Wow. Well, I think that Micah Parsons is an automatic start. This guy is giving people Lawrence Taylor vibes. This guy is a freaking bull coming through that offensive line. You can't stop him. Not only that, I mean, his coverage game, I think, is solid. Although we know that it takes at least 2 to 3 linemen to stop him, to set up. Who's the other freaking lineman on their team? I drew a complete blank. I don't want to mess him up with the Giants one. I fucked up. Anyways, he's number 1. Number 2, it's CeeDee Lamb. I'm sorry. Listen, Dak had some crazy numbers last year, but you also got to remember that Dak Prescott was throwing the football more than just about anybody in the league, number 1. And number 2, we need to remember that as great as his numbers were and him being in the MVP conversation because he did stay healthy, unlike the majority of quarterbacks, that's the problem now. Dak Prescott's not better than Joe Burrow. Dak Prescott, even at this age, isn't better than Aaron Rodgers. Dak Prescott, he's right around there with your boy, with Deshaun Watson. He's right around there.
Fuck off.
I don't think Dak Prescott is better than Justin Herbert. These are all guys that suffered major injuries that ended most of their seasons. So for me, I agree. I'd start Micah, I bench CeeDee, and I cut Dak Prescott.
I'm the smartest guy. So when do you think?
Let's get some deep right here.
Yeah, I saw Bob's little fucking comment over there. I'm not even gonna give him the time of day.
Give him the type of day. Give him
When do you think this contract is gonna get signed?
Does it?
I'd assume now. I mean, well, you know what? The only thing that I can see that kind of fucks us up is Justin or CeeDee Lamb going in there now with his chest puffed up high, going, "Well, if Jefferson just signed that, I want to get similar numbers to that."
Mm-hmm. And not CeeDee Lamb was tremendous this
He's
year,
a great fucking player. Do not. Okay, Bob. I'm going to come into your podcast, Bob, and I'm going to start fucking saying shit like that in your fucking comments.
So this, I'm on your side, Zach.
I'll fucking get him kicked off his fucking Podbean so goddamn quick.
I thought there was going to be a follow-up to that. So CeeDee Lamb was tremendous this year. 135 receptions, led the league, almost 1,750 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns. I mean, he was definitely tremendous for the Dallas Cowboys this season.
And also, Robbie, can we also just point out, we're not going to show the comment you said there, but isn't that kind of like Dak Prescott? Didn't he get into some trouble with that in this offseason? And doesn't he have a real tough time staying healthy?
Yes. Yes.
And you can continue.
Well, I believe it was assault sexually. DeMarcus Lawrence, that's what I was thinking of earlier. I believe it was that. So the base salary, here, I'm going to share this tab instead, and we can look through this all together, Zachary. Bam. So this is the Cowboys' current cap space situation. So you got Dak Prescott making $29 million off the base. DeMarcus Lawrence making $10 million off the base. CeeDee Lamb's making nearly $18 million off the base. Zach Martin, who was just absolutely incredible. He's getting all these bonuses that could reach out to $15 million. So Dak's cap number is $55 million. DeMarcus Lawrence is 20. CD's is 18. Zach Martin's 15. See Trayvon Diggs. I wonder what version the Cowboys are going to get Trayvon Diggs coming back from
ACL. You never really know with that injury.
Look at this. You can understand why this guy might sit out. Look at how much Micah Parsons is making, bro.
The position he plays too, like putting your body in the line like that there's obviously certain positions in football, Robbie, that have a lot more risk than others. And I'd have to think throwing yourself through linemen snap after snap has to take quite a toll on you.
Yeah,
if I'm just throwing a guess out there.
And look at this. Their best corner last year, Mr. Duron Bland, this is how much he's making. All those interceptions.
Scroll up.
Scroll down.
There it is.
Okay. Just a little over $1 million. Wow.
Damn. It's crazy how I'm like, that's not that much money, but I would fucking lob my left nut off to make over $1 million a year.
Oh, me too. If we could ever make this podcast, just go through it and we make $1 million a year.
Yeah, come on, guys. I don't want to fucking work anymore. Please let me be a lazy piece of shit.
Sorry,
but Mr. Robbie, we have one more thing to discuss.
Hold on. I got to make sure my grandmother's okay right now. She is hacking up a lung. Please carry on.
Okay. Well, I wish your grandmother all the best. My goodness. Last thing that we are going to talk about here, I guess I will talk about here because my co-host Robbie is gone. Bob, maybe you can help me out in the comments section with this because this is kind of comical, also kind of sad. Excuse me. Darren Waller, tight end for the New York Giants. There's been so much shit going on with this guy. Is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire? He's going through that public divorce right now with
Kelsey
Plum.
What did I walk back into?
Walked a very public divorce with Kelsey Plum, and it just seems like this guy's spiraling out of control. He's now making, Robbie, I'm going to say it, the fucking worst music I have ever heard in my entire life. Like, just horrible music. And I'm starting to think, like, are we possibly seeing yet maybe another, obviously not to the degree that he is now, but maybe a fucking Antonio Brown type situation or a
No.
We don't think there might be a little bit of head trauma going on here?
No. Not even close. No. I think he's finding a substitute for a way to cope through his depression and problems he's going through. Because if you remember Zach, he was an alcoholic. He went to rehab. He's clean of alcohol. So maybe he's trying to find a new substitute instead of doing alcohol or crack.
Yeah, get back into alcohol because music isn't it. That would be my message.
Yeah.
That would if I was this therapist, that would be my my suggestion.
Oh, God, you're evil. You are evil. Oh, God. Well, Zach, there are rumors that he might retire. Do you think he is, or do you think he's going to give another year with the Giants?
I think he's going to. I think he'll
Giants,
stick around.
and if you're the Giants, what would you like?
Obviously, you want him to stick around. I mean, you just acquired this guy, right? I think as Bob was saying, he's only been there for a year, one season.
Yeah, but do you really do?
Well, it's like, who else are you going to put in the tight end position? I mean, obviously the guy's making a lot of fucking money, which is a problem because, let's be honest, Robbie, he did have some spurts, but so far with the Giants, his tight end career has not been very flourishing. It has not been very good.
No, it was atrocious last year. I mean, thankfully they only gave up a 3rd-round pick, but if I'm the Giants, if this is going to be a consistent thing and distraction, I mean, yeah, your rap, if you want to do your rap videos like in your rap music, go on and do it. But if you're going to make it like a major distraction like this, I mean, Kelsey Plum, everyone knows Kelsey Plum. Number 1, she's got a cannon of an arm. Number 2, she's hot as hell. And number 3, you cheat on her like an idiot.
See, hot as hell. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Really?
I'm sure there's a lot of people who think she's a very beautiful woman. She just has a very manly look to me, Robbie. I'm going to be honest.
She's tall.
It's not even that. It's the shape of her face too. She's got that broad jawline on her. Looks like kind of Jay Leno with a wig.
Oh, that's rude. That is rude. That is beyond. We're gonna check this out right now. Kelsey.
And you're gonna put on the fucking most airbrushed, sexiest picture that you can find of her. Give me a real one.
All right. Well, then I might as well put sexy in the search bar here.
Like Google's made, we do not compute.
Let's see. I mean, she's basically showing most of her cleavage in that one. It was like the first game after the divorce, and she had that jacket that was just barely covering her.
Yeah, it's fucking. She said something about a cannon arm. I thought you were talking about her cannons. And speaking of cannons, folks, we have that's a foreshadowing for later on this episode.
All right. Hold on. I just had it freaking. Hopefully it stays like that. Shoot.
You got this, Robbie. Don't you worry.
No, I don't, because why did it kick out of the stupid screen share again? Here we go. Boom.
Like, I mean, that's obviously a very good picture of her. She definitely looks attractive there, but I'm just not a big Kelsey Plum guy.
I think you're just gay.
Well,
it is
you're the one that's liking a WNBA player, so.
What's wrong with that? Have you ever seen Skylar Diggins?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Most of them look like my fucking asshole.
Oh.
Look at the one that's been beefing with who's that fucking dog? This is a good segue here, Rob. We'll get into this. Who's that absolute dog that just keeps fucking running over our girl Caitlin? That is the ugliest creature I think I've ever seen in my life. What is her name? Kennedy?
I'm going to talk about Angel Reese, because I think Angel Reese is hideous too.
Angel Reese is pretty ugly, but I'm not going to lie to you. She looked kind of banging in that outfit she had before the game with the high heels on and everything. Mm-hmm. It's the first time I've ever looked at her. I was like, oh, shit. Got them long-ass legs on her. But no, I'm talking about that disgusting specimen that was basically body checking our girl Caitlin Clark. And we don't talk about WNBA very often, folks. But I'm going to say it.
Kennedy Carter.
I think there might be a little bit, and this is going to sound very, very weird to hear me say, because I'm a white man. I think there's a little bit of goddamn white racism going on here, Robbie, to our girl Caitlin Clark in the WNBA right now.
I think there's a point to be had there. I think there's a point to be had, because if the roles were reversed, it would be viewed as racism.
And one thing I don't understand, why the fuck do all these girls hate her so much? All she has done for this sport is actually put it on the map. Do you think there would be a human being on Earth even discussing this Kennedy, whatever this bitch's name is, if she didn't do this to Caitlin Clark?
Well, I have some audio for you of Angel Reese saying it's not all Caitlin Clark that's bringing the money. Here's a clip.
It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that, because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
She's on the television. I changed the channel.
Yeah, I'm not. To be honest with you, I mean, realistically, even for me, Caitlin Clark isn't pushing the envelope for me to watch women's basketball, regardless. But
I'll tell you
I will say
that Caitlin Clark had. The Connecticut Sun were in the WNBA finals a couple years ago, and ticket prices were very good. I had more interest to go all the way down to Mohegan Sun, take a day off of work to go see Caitlin Clark, than go watch them play in the WNBA finals. She's revolutionizing. She's changing the sport for the better because, God forbid, the problem and the reason why nobody pays attention to the WNBA is because whenever there's a suggestion on how to improve the sport or change it so it's more likable to watch, such as lowering the rim down to 9 feet potentially so we can see more dunks because only a few people in the WNBA can dunk. Brittany Griner, who's a fan.
I mean, Brittany Griner, first of all, that is... You know what? I'm just going to keep going because I'm going to just keep going.
It's a man.
That chick has a cock.
It's boring, bro. It's boring. It's nothing compared. I'd rather sit there and watch women's college basketball because there's more grit to that and there's more I'd say on the line, and maybe because I grew up with the UConn women's basketball team, so maybe that's another reason why I'd rather watch that than the WNBA. But I wouldn't sit here and tell you I haven't watched any Caitlin Clark. I have watched Caitlin Clark. She makes the game better, bro. And let's not forget, too, this gal who lost to LSU and Angel Reese was trash talking her, showing off in her face. And how did Caitlin Clark react to it? Nothing. Shouldn't say nothing. Humbled. Good game. Meanwhile, that teammate there, what the hell is her name? Kennedy Carter, her saying "you bitch" and then shoving her to the ground.
First of all, if you're gonna be that much big, like Caitlin Clark is, I mean, me and you could both pick her up and snap her in half. Thank you, Brian. Snap her in half on our kneecap. She is not a very big girl whatsoever, and you have this fucking bulldozer of a lady. And the thing that makes me the most angry about it too, Robbie, is if you're going to fucking try to intimidate someone, do it when they're facing you. Don't be a big fucking pussy 10 times the size of somebody and come up and fucking shoulder blast them from behind when they're not looking for it.
I got the video right here, bud. Here you go. And play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're so tough. I was actually reading about this stupid bitch, too, the other day, Robbie. I don't like this Kennedy Carter bitch, whatever the fuck her name is. But I was reading about this lady, and apparently she was like a 7th overall pick like 3-4 years ago, and she's already on her 4th team in her 2nd stint down the WNBA because of how shitty of a person she is. Mm-hmm. So this could be someone we don't even see playing in the WNBA by the end of the season at this point.
No, she'll play. They'll try to use her as some Dylan Brooks type role.
But Robbie...
The last thing I want to say before we move on from this, Zachary. A lot of people are like calling out in the WNBA to take action, and here's why I got to say that. You skipped the most important people to have her back, her teammates. This has been going on all season, where Caitlin Clark is taking cheap shots.
Yeah, why hasn't a bitch punched a bitch yet? You know what I mean?
None of her teammates have stuck up for her.
Why hasn't someone given somebody a shot?
None of them have stuck up for Caitlin Clark. And it's not like Caitlin Clark is like trying to, like, do you see her like saying, yeah, I'm the reason, or she's like showboating or like taking all the credit? No, she's going out and playing her game.
Just because of her name at this point.
It is. And to be point blank, it's like what Pat McAfee said, this white bitch.
Well, and that's what I feel like is kind of really pissing off. And I mean, I could be completely ignorant about this, so if I am, you tell me. But I just look at it this way. I'm like, obviously, basketball, Robbie, we can all agree, predominantly black sport. They are predominantly better than white people at basketball. That's just a goddamn known fact.
It is.
So I think it's really rubbing people the wrong way that there's a white girl,
yes,
who's now coming in and getting all this recognition for growing that, which I can definitely see if I was a different race, maybe I'd look at it going like, what the fuck? We've been fucking growing this sport for 25, 30, however many years the WNBA has been going on, but not that long, but women's professional basketball in general.
Mhm.
He's like, and now 1 year this lady comes in and is taking all the thunder, and it's like, well, is that her fault? Is that her fault that she's that good at shooting threes?
They should be thanking her because
Yeah, it's like it's
went from flying
did
publicly.
people give Eminem shit when he started coming out with music?
Sure, absolutely. I bet.
Exactly. And guess what happened? He fucking persevered and kept going through it.
Mhm.
And guess what our girl Caitlin Clark's gonna do, Robbie? She's gonna persevere. And another thing, I'm gonna I can't remember what show it is. I think it was The View or something like that.
I want to touch on this right here. Why doesn't the coach tell Caitlin to leave for the day, then rip the team?
Do it in front of her.
Yeah, no, they're
Fucking what the fuck is wrong with you guys?
Yes, like they got to have her back. Like do you remember what the Chicago Bulls did in the 80s when Michael Jordan was not necessarily have anyone having his back because his way was different from the rest of those players? I mean, he said it in the documentary. It was hookers, blow, and cigarettes,
Nice.
which for Zachary is a nice combination. Okay,
Nice.
but what did they do? They
I think
brought
everybody's a pretty nice
they
combination.
brought in Horace Grant. Horace Grant and Charles Oakley both had Michael Jordan's back. Then in comes Dennis Rodman. You need to I'm not saying you're finding a player to the same caliber as Dennis Rodman or Horace Grant or Charles Oakley.
But get one of these big bitches in that lineup.
You need to find one of those chicks.
You know what they should go for?
Have her back.
I think it might have been a chick that was on South Carolina. This girl looked like she could have been a starting offensive lineman for the Buffalo Bills. She was just a monster. And I think that maybe that is someone they possibly look at. Okay, well, Steve, I guess
we're also in the crap now where if a man becomes a woman, a transgender, they're allowed in women's sports. Maybe they go that route too.
Yeah, imagine LeBron James with a pussy dunking 95 times in a quarter.
Well, he does have a pussy.
Okay. Well, Robbie, I think that for the first time ever, I think that was our first ever WNBA discussion.
It is. It's the first in the history of the Sports Cave, and not to mention, too, pretty political there, too. We reached everything there.
Damn right.
But, Zach, I will be tuning into some Caitlin Clark games, and I want to get a full view on more games on, like, what kind of treatment this girl's getting. The WNBA's got to step up. Her teammates have got to step up. They have to.
I would have to assume after the last incident that they've gotten a bit of a talking to.
Now, I think, Zach, too, I mean, the Indiana Fever, there's no one outside of there by the name of Caitlin Clark that's any sort of good.
I think they've had back-to-back first overall picks, so this team is just a pile of shit.
But I believe they did get their
first home win
season.
Yep, first win on the home court.
Yes, and do you know who was against?
Chicago Sky.
Chicago Sky. Angel Reese and company. And I'll tell you what, I've hated Angel Reese's attitude ever since college basketball and its transition to the WNBA.
I had something I wanted to say quick too about Caitlin Clark before we move on.
Okay.
To a real sport. Boom. Caitlin Clark, the one of the hosts of, I believe it was a morning show called The View, was saying, I think we actually might have talked a little bit about this last week, where she said that obviously there's a lot of pretty privilege and white privilege going on with all this shit with Caitlin Clark. And I would like to bring your attention, Robbie, to the girl that went second overall in this WNBA draft, okay? Because if there was something in the WNBA draft called pretty privilege and white privilege, this bitch would be everywhere. Cameron Brink, I think her name is. And I tell you one thing right now, you take one look at her and you get a fair amount of blood flow to the tip of your penis.
Okay.
And that's my point right there, that this lady in The View is a fucking moron.
Let me see if I could find the video there. Was her name Sunny Hostin?
Cameron Brink. You weren't even listening to what I said. Fantastic.
Cameron
Fantastic.
Cameron Brink. I'll look for it, Zach, but
I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
but Robbie, why don't you load up a little soundtrack here and we get in and start fucking talking some real goddamn sports.
Please hold. You put me on the spot. Here it comes. that guy that you're
ladies,
talking about.
ladies and gentlemen, Robbie, I just sent you. It's not even that really good of a picture of her, but you can just kind of get the point that she's a lot more attractive than Caitlin Clark, and no one even knows who she is.
Where'd you send it on Instagram?
Snapchat.
Snapchat. Okay.
Excuse me again, guys. As I said earlier, the stage is set for the Stanley Cup. Car lover, what a time to join, brother. My goodness gracious, what a time to join.
Oh, Cameron Brink. This is who you're talking about here?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's cute, but she's also a. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
all that.
And on the- Ryan with the pride flag. Bobby, just wanted to wish you a very happy Pride Month. I know this is a big month for you, buddy. NHL Stanley Cup is set. We are featuring.
I'm curious to see what this is because he knows we were live.
The Florida Panthers and Canada's own Edmonton Oilers. Robbie, Canada has a chance to break the curse that has not been broken since 1993 when the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup. Robbie, Zach, and made I official. Robbie, Zach, and made I official. Ryan, I'm gonna have to ask you to retype that because I don't know if I'm just stoned or if that was written in Cantonese.
What are you talking about here? Just trying to check see if Steve had like
Ryan
something from the Caitlin person.
Ryan wrote Robbie, Zach, and made I official. But anyways, back to some hockey here, Robbie. I'm getting distracted. Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers. I think we are going to be in for a grueling series. But before we talk about this one, Robbie, I want to talk about the conference finals that we just went through here. Starting off in the East, Florida Panthers taking the Rangers down at home in 6 games. I mean, Robbie, I fucked up by not sending you this, but there was a guy from Spitting Chicklets, one of the producers named Pasha. He's not a big Rangers fan at all, and he went on a podcast last week and essentially tore the captain, Jacob Trouba, to smithereens, just saying he's always out of position.
I heard about it today, too, on your radio.
So I have been kind of keeping my eye on Trouba after he said this. Robbie, he's 100% right. I have no idea what Trouba is doing half the time on the ice when it comes to positioning. There was at least, in the last 2 games, 2 goals for sure that I can pinpoint on him not being in his position and as to why there was a 3-on-1 and a 2-on-1 because he's jumping out of position to go for a big hit and gets walked. Mm-hmm. And it's just something you can't have, especially not from your captain. Shesterkin played out of his goddamn mind all playoffs long.
His performance reminded me of Hendrik Lundqvist when they made that run to the Stanley Cup.
I mean, you honestly got to feel bad for him because I'm not going to say the Rangers are not going to have another chance to win a cup, Robbie, because we have no idea what their team's going to look like next year.
I think one of the biggest things, and you could probably tell me if I'm crazy wrong on this, Matt Rempe, if that dude gets better with puck handling, with putting shots on net, and like isn't always worried about just going out there and fighting, like if he could be a much better version of a Ryan Reeves, this Rangers team would
I don't think he's ever going to be, to be honest with you. He's just a. I think he rode his 15 minutes of fame very well this year, but then when it came down to the playoffs, Robbie, like for instance, the game 6, I think he played less than 3 minutes in the game in the 60 minutes of hockey. He didn't have a shift. From I believe it was like 5 minutes and 16 seconds on from the second period. Didn't play a second in the third period. But the thing is, and as Bob just kind of alluded to in the comments again there, I mean, there's 2 guys that were kind of just ghosts. One of them was just the playoffs between Fox, but Zibanejad just all season long just was not the same Mika Zibanejad scoring goals like he's used to. And I'm going to assume that Fox was dealing with an injury in the playoffs. I mean, there's just no other excuse for that. He had to have been very banged up. It's the fact that he was even out there. Like, he just looked like he was immobile. Like he couldn't even skate out there. So there must have been something wrong. But Zibanejad just had a rough year all year long. And it really sucks because this, I mean, if you're a Rangers fan, Robbie, this was the best Rangers team that I've ever seen. And this was a team that, I mean, realistically, they got a couple more bounces. They could have easily won a Stanley Cup this year. And it's just like one of those things where the rug gets ripped out from underneath you.
Yeah, but one of the things that was playing into their benefit that didn't play into benefit against the Panthers was not only offensively, but defensively against the power play.
Yeah. But you know what? And it also just seems like Florida. They're such a tough team to
They're a
face, Robbie.
team
Like,
that, like,
oh
they
my God.
but they also have the toughness too. With
They have everything. They have
leading
speed,
everything.
skill, great defensive. They have size. They have tenacity. They have that fucking that fuck you attitude. Edmonton's gonna have their handful here, Robbie. Edmonton's gonna have their handful. But
Zach, I was gonna say, when prediction time comes, you're gonna have to listen to the reason why I'm going the direction I'm going.
no problemo. No problemo. Another thing to note too,
Another person that
Robbie.
left out that was a no-show for the Rangers that basically saved their playoffs in Game 6. Chris Kreider, dude went from putting a hat trick in less than 9 minutes against the Carolina Hurricanes to disappearing against the Florida Panthers.
And I mean, that's also something you could put. That's also like kind of a positive thing to say about Florida. Like, I mean, they look at all these big names we're talking about that didn't do fuck all against them. I mean, at some point we gotta give credit where credit's due. And maybe they're just that good defensively.
I think Florida
that good as a shutdown.
Damn good. And Zach, that's a problem that the Leafs are going to have to deal with for a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But Robbie, before we move on to the other series, one thing to note: last year when Florida won the Eastern Conference Final. I don't know if you know this, Robbie. It's kind of an unwritten rule in hockey that when you win the conference championship trophy,
You can't touch the trophy.
you don't touch it because you don't want that trophy. That's not the trophy you want. You want the Stanley Cup. But it's kind of become a thing the last decade or so where some teams have chosen to touch it.
Player that did it last year, and he said, "Don't touch it."
Barkov grabbed it last year, and Paul Maurice made sure he wasn't going to fucking touch that thing this year. He gets right in his ear and says, "Don't you fucking touch it."
Yep.
So no cup touch. Florida Panthers moving on. As we said before, they're facing the Edmonton Oilers, who had a rocky start here, Robbie, in this Dallas Stars series, going down 2-1. And a lot of people, including myself, when it was 2-1, Robbie, I was already kind of saying it's over. I thought Dallas had the team. I thought Dallas was the team to win the Stanley Cup this year. You got guys in the team that are old, that haven't won a cup, but have been so close, and guys like Jamie Benn and guys like Joe Pavelski. Excuse me. So I had all my money on them. And then Edmonton, I mean, realistically, without their power play, Robbie, Edmonton is never winning this series. I mean, even look at the Game 6 when they won. They got 2 power play goals to make it 2-0. At one point, they were getting outshot like 25-9, and they were winning 2-1 or 2-0. I mean, their power play is literally the most insane thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And Robbie, please, while I'm talking about this, because again, I fucked up. Can you go to Twitter and just type in McDavid and see if you can find that goal? I know you're going to find it pretty easily because it was one of the nicest goals I've ever seen in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was disgusting. It was a deke into a quick like backhand.
But I think, Robbie, Edmonton Oilers.
Connor Davis playing in the 80s. They think he was a witch. Barstool
Literally.
have it in the slow motion. So
Yeah. So here we go, folks. Before I get into my next point here, let's watch this. We're gonna replay it here because. I mean, and Robbie, by the way, can we also point out that is against Miro Heiskanen, the defenseman, the star defenseman of the Dallas Stars, one of the best defensemen in the league right now, and he walked him like a fucking pylon. And all you people in Edmonton are going, "Well, McDavid's our savior. Draisaitl's our savior." Even the last couple of games Skinner's played. He's been playing like their savior. There is one person that is due all the respect in the world as to why Edmonton is now riding this streak.
Zach Hyman?
No, Robbie. It is Big Tit Teresa from the goddamn crowd at their home game the other night. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, please go to Twitter and just search up Oilers and titties, and you are going to see the nicest front porch you've ever seen in your goddamn life, Robbie. Basically what occurred was the Oilers had won, I believe it was Game 5 or Game 4 maybe it was, and she just dumped her set of balloons out for the whole crowd to see and just started shaking them around, and they were mouth-watering. Absolutely mouth-watering. And Edmonton never looked back, Robbie. They got a nice look at those Hershey kisses, and they never looked back.
Let's not forget where Edmonton was earlier on in the season, Zach. They were at the bottom, the worst of the worst. They were not anything special whatsoever. They elect to fire their head coach, and what do, Zachary? They bring in Chris Knobloch, 30 minutes away from my living space in Hartford, Connecticut, from the Hartford Wolfpack, and he has turned this club around, and they are going to the Stanley Cup. This guy went from the NHL, the AHL to the NHL to the Stanley Cup. That deserves to be a headline story as well.
Can I tell you a thing I saw on Twitter today too of a thread with a lot of very close comparables to this Edmonton Oilers team as to what adversities they went through this season?
Once you get back, you can.
What'd you say?
There we go. I said, once we get you back, then yes, we got you back.
Okay. So basically, I saw this thing on Twitter today that basically everything that the Edmonton Oilers have done and gone through this season, the St. Louis Blues went through in the year that they won the Stanley Cup, Robbie.
Yeah.
They were at one point, obviously St. Louis was a little bit later on in the season. I think they were 40 games in. They were last place, 31st in the league. Edmonton, 12 or 14 games into this season, 31st in the league. Both head coaches for both teams got fired in the month of November. Both have gone on impressive runs since that. Are both going to be Stanley Cup champions, Robbie. And I guess before we get into that, there is one thing I'd like to say. If yesterday was Joe Pavelski's last game in the NHL, I will say it's been a pleasure watching you play hockey for what seems like the last 20 years. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, net front tipper in NHL history, Robbie, Joe Pavelski. The guy has hands. His hand-eye is next to none. And it just really sucks that I thought this was going to be the year he was going to go out on top, but unfortunately, it looks like this probably was the last game he's going to play, which means he is going to go through his career. I believe he's made three Stanley Cup finals and was unable to get the job done in any three of them. Obviously, it's the hardest trophy in hockey to win, so... But very, very tough way to end your career if that is the end of it. But hell of a career, Mr. Pavelski. Future Hall of Famer, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Hell of a career. Zachary, I have a tweet here from NHL Public Relations. Oilers Cinderella story continues. The Oilers become the third team in the NHL history to reach the Stanley Cup final after being 10-plus points out of a playoff spot during the regular season. They were 31st at one point in the NHL standings once they brought in Chris Knobloch. There are two teams since that time that made the Stanley Cup final after being 10-plus points out with the Oilers. You alluded to one of them, the St. Louis Blues. Who's the other one?
I'm not going to lie to you, Robbie. I was reading some of our NBA notes just to get myself ready. What was the first part of that question?
Okay. The Oilers became the third team in NHL history to reach the Stanley Cup final after being 10-plus points out of a playoff spot during the regular season. At one point, once they brought in Chris Knobloch, they were 31st in the NHL standings. You alluded to one of the teams that joined that the Oilers joined with the St. Louis Blues. Could you tell me who the third team was?
Nashville Predators.
No.
West or East?
East.
Penguins.
No.
Lightning.
No.
Panthers.
No.
Bruins.
No.
Leafs.
Yes. The
Son of a bitch.
1959 Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Yeah, that counts.
But they were 31st in the NHL state. They were probably right there with the Sharks, bro. They were
Sharks, I believe, were the only team that were below them at one point. The Sharks were 2-9.
Mm-hmm.
And no, Sharks were 2-14 last place, and the Oilers with 12 games in were 2-9. So obviously 12 games in the season is a bit of a different sample size than what the St. Louis Blues went through, but still, what a turnaround.
Chris Knobloch inherited a Wolfpack team that went 29-36-0-11 in 2018-19. In Knobloch's first year as the Wolfpack head coach, Hartford finished a COVID-shortened season 2019-2020, 31-20-0-1. He coached Hartford to their first college playoff appearance in 8 years last year. Culture shifter. This guy just changes the culture. He did it in Hartford in the minor leagues, and he's doing it with the Edmonton Oilers. What a story that is. What a story.
Yeah, it's clearly working.
This guy, their head coach, when they fired their head coach, what was it, last offseason? They had the opportunity to bring this guy up.
Yeah, and Bob also with another fact here in the comments. 5 years in a row, Robbie, the state of Florida is representing the Stanley Cup.
Now,
Stanley
I think
Cup final
what
for
I
these.
Zachary, is that this Stanley Cup is the longest in terms of distance.
I could definitely see that.
The 2024 Stanley Cup final between the Oilers and Panthers will be the furthest between two cities in NHL history. Zachary, would you like to get? Well, you don't really have miles, so I'll just tell you how many miles it is. So you can figure out in kilometers. The distance, Zachary, is 2,543 miles.
Yeah, it's over 5,000 kilometers, I think. It's a lot of kilometers. We'll just keep it to that right there, I tell you.
So who are you more disappointed in? The team that won the President's Trophy and the curse lives on, the New York Rangers or the Dallas Stars? For me, it's not even a question of the Dallas Stars.
You know what? I'm not even going to say the Dallas Stars either, because I think that they did everything they could to win. Robbie, in my opinion, they were the better team in pretty much every single game this series. But for some reason, Stuart Skinner all of a sudden realized how to play goalie. The guy had 35 saves in Game 6 compared to Jake Ottinger's 9. If you're going to be disappointed in anybody this series,
goal too,
I'd be disappointed in Jake Ottinger, because he did not play anywhere near where he was supposed to be playing. I mean, we're talking about a top goalie in the league playing like absolute shit in the time you need him most. I mean, then you got guys like Rupe Hintz that were dealing with injuries. You got guys stepping up on this lineup like Wyatt Johnson had a great playoff. Stankoven had a great playoff. Their big boys like Robertson had a great playoff. I mean, everything was kind of lining up for them. They just they ran into a very hot goalie and a power play that I don't think the league has ever seen one like this before.
I mean, the Rangers at one point, we were saying the same thing. Carolina could execute off of their power play.
But Robbie, this brings us to the all-important question, Robbie. Saturday night, Game 1 goes down. But I want to know right here, right now, Robbie, who is your Stanley Cup winner for this season?
Now, if we're looking offensively with Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, it's easily in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Would you agree?
I mean, I don't know if I'd say easily, to be honest with you, because really, like, we're talking about a way deeper lineup offensively in Florida. Yeah, with top-end skill, yes. Top-end skill for sure.
Yes. Okay. But I'm not going that route, and it's not off of hating with my friend Francis, who loves to shit on me for being a Leafs fan. I'm going with the Florida Panthers again, and I just look at what they had to face in terms of goaltending from the start of the playoffs. They went from Vasilevsky to Swayman.
Vasilevsky.
Oh, thank you. To you cut me off there. You fucked me up.
Sorry, just joking.
To Igor.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
we're
talking. Oh,
yes.
What happened?
I don't know. I heard boom.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about an excellent slate of goaltending here,
and they dominated. And Edmonton's, I mean, the goaltending was pretty good the last two series.
Can it last?
But can it last? And I'll take Bobrovsky any day of the week.
Robbie, I'm going to tell you this right now.
It pains you.
It doesn't pain me because on paper, the Florida Panthers should win this, but I just think that my beautiful nation of Canada has waited long enough to have a Canadian team run by Canadian players, mind you.
Get emotional. You're going to get emotional.
I think it's our time to win a Stanley Cup. I think Connor McDavid is going to be so possessed this series, Robbie, because let's be honest here. Connor McDavid could finish with the second most points of all time, but you don't have a Stanley Cup win at the end of that resume. That is a gigantic hole missing in that trophy case, Robbie. I don't care how many MVP awards you win, how many this, how many that. You don't have a Stanley Cup at the end of your career, especially for a guy like McDavid. In my opinion, that is a disappointment in your career right there. And I think this could very well be the closest he's ever going to get if Edmonton doesn't do much to fur up their defense and fur up this goaltending. You got a guy like Darnell Nurse making like $10 million next year, or $12 million, I think he's making next year on the sheet, on the papers. I mean, this has to be their year to do it. Florida has guys signed for years to come. They'll be back. Florida's going to be a great team for the next 5-6 years easily.
But I think you're talking about Connor McDavid having that drive and that, we're going to see a version of Connor McDavid that we've never seen before. I can argue the same thing with Matthew Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers.
Well, I guess they did lose it last year.
They lost it last year, and they got something to prove. Like, there's a reason why we made a second time, and we ain't going to let it happen again. But, Zachary.
Well, just for some fun, I'm going to take the Oilers.
I do have some audio here of a special guest who wants to make their pick. LeBron, who do you got winning this?
And one of these days, Robbie's going to realize that joke sucks, but he still perseveres it, folks.
But to continue with our elimination.
How do I not see that coming? It just blows me away.
The New York Rangers are eliminated. Well, the Texas Rangers have won the World Series. The Dallas Mavericks are in the World Series or the NBA Finals. The Dallas Cowboys haven't sniffed a Super Bowl since the 20th century. The Dallas Stars came so close, but they are eliminated.
Bye-bye, Dallas. And that leaves us with 2. Robbie has the Florida Panthers. Zach, myself, has the Edmonton Oilers.
Let's go.
And I'm only picking Edmonton because I want to see more of that chick's tits.
Fair enough.
And Robbie, that right there, my friend, is
I'm
the
sure
NHL news.
she's banned from the arena because you know how they are.
Oh yeah, she's probably banned from every arena,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, she just want to show some tits.
Seriously, what's wrong with that? Well, Zachary, excuse me. I think we transition into the NBA here. What do you say?
Let's transition. It is Pride Month.
NBA audio. Let's see. Nope, I have NBA and NBC, and an NBC, which ironically could happen. I'm gonna be honest. That is nothing close to the NBA and TNT. The NBA and TNT is way better.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks right there.
That's so sad that next year is probably going to be. And like when they were interviewing Luka, he goes, "No, we will take care of this." Oh, is this it right here, Zach? And it cuts off the best part. That is the best part. All right, folks. NBA talk time is now. And Zachary, we have it. We have our NBA Finals matchup. We have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and the Boston Celtics taking on Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, and the Dallas Mavericks. Zachary, I think you and I both agreed. We 100% probably when the playoffs started had the Boston Celtics make it all the way to the NBA Finals. Zach, I didn't have the Dallas. I didn't when the playoffs
shot in hell.
Not a chance. Not a chance. But Zach, Ryan's team has gotten the best of everyone. He got the best of Steve twice. He got Steve's Clippers and Steve's OKC Thunder.
Sorry, Steve.
Who they fucking take down? Oh, and then they took down the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, Zachary, before we preview our NBA Finals and make our predictions, let's preview the Western Conference Finals matchup there. They lose in 5, the Minnesota Timberwolves, to the Dallas Mavericks. And, Zach, I would like to hear who you would like to say is the sole reason for the Minnesota Timberwolves just absolute catastrophic failure in the Western Conference Finals.
I'm not even going to say a name. I'm just going to make a noise, okay? Meow. 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 Because let me tell you, the jungle cat, Karl Anthony Towns, looked more like a domesticated house cat in this game. Okay, Robbie. I mean, this series, this playoff, we'll say, but mainly this series. He was atrocious. I mean, you got guys like Ant Edwards that are just attempting to put the team on their back, putting up fucking what seems like 40 shots a game because he can't trust. What was Karl Anthony Towns' field goal this series?
I had the numbers to the first.
It was like
Bad.
so bad.
It was bad.
I mean, just gave them absolutely no chance to win. Absolutely no chance. And I mean, I'm sure Anthony Edwards is already in this guy's ear. Okay, Luka will drop his balls in Tatum's mouth, according to Ryan. Blue, thank God you're not here.
I wonder if
but yeah, horrible conference final for Towns. I mean, we didn't see the best from Edwards. We didn't really see the best from Minnesota at all. It seemed like they were pretty tired. Maybe they had some. I guess their series might have been a little bit more grueling to go through, but either that, Robbie, or is Dallas just that good? Like, if they just found the Heat at the right time, because they didn't just beat this Minnesota Timberwolves team, Robbie. They fucking decimated them.
They did, Zach, and I would like to go back to our MVP winner and say, once again, my preseason prediction should have been right, because no one from the regular season to the playoffs has played better basketball than Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic took that offseason personal when he got eliminated, didn't even make the play-in tournament. And this dude, Luka Doncic, is arguably one of the best two-way players in the NBA. You already knew what you're going to get off him offensively. This guy...
Yeah, where did the defense come from? Where did this come from?
This guy went from literally, Zach, just going up, smoking cigarettes, eating whatever the hell he wants, to conditioning and taking better care of his body. And look what it got the Dallas Mavericks. Look where he got him to. This is all based off of Luka's offseason and a full season of work with Kyrie Irving. That was the other thing that was key. So that's two things, because I got a third thing there. The Dallas Mavericks had one of the best trade deadlines in NBA history. Daniel Gafford played a tremendous part to their success. PJ Washington, who showed glimpses over there in Charlotte, but you see how much better this guy is over there. And lastly, Derrick Jones Jr. This guy we know for his NBA dunk competition against Aaron Gordon, but this guy is also draining threes when they're giving it to him.
Yeah, then who's the guy they drafted last year too?
This year,
Likely,
Eric Lively.
Yeah, this guy's fucking unbelievable so far. Robbie,
take it easy, Steve.
Well, that's fucked up to say, Robbie. I'm gonna say it early, Robbie.
No! Don't do it. Let's recap everything. Let's give our fans.
I almost got excited there.
But Karl Anthony Towns, these are his numbers in the playoffs here. I don't know how well you can see. Do you need me to zoom in?
No. We got that here.
So he had 28 points in their Game 5 elimination, but look what he shot from three. I'm the greatest shooting big man of all time. Really? Do you think Dirk Nowitzki would do that, bro? Do you think Dirk would do that? Look at this, Zach. 22, 20, 0, 80% in Game 4 when it mattered most, and then 17%. This guy, I'll give you the numbers right now. What he shot from three.
Robbie, another thing that kind of blows me away, and I mean, I know Karl Anthony Towns isn't known to be a blocking big man.
No.
But you'd think as a big man, he'd get at least one.
No, Zach. Rudy Gobert is overrated, bro. This dude is trash, bro. Seriously. This dude is a great help defenseman, but if he's one-on-one in an island, he's getting torched.
Yeah, well, I mean, Luka showed that pretty fucking quickly.
Karl Anthony Towns shot 28% from three. And forget Luka Doncic, bro. Their worst offensive player had Rudy Gobert on him, the defensive player of the year. And Luka said, "Don't give me the ball. ISO him." And he scored a bucket on him.
That's just a slap in the face of Rudy Gobert.
Bro, Rudy Gobert is trash. So what should the Timberwolves address this offseason? Now, I want to add another thing. I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but their head coach was 3 rows back because of the collision that happened in the second round that ruptured his Achilles, that he wasn't able to be on the sidelines with this team. So I don't know how much.
You can't put the guy on the bench.
I don't know how much it takes into effect, but it's worth knowing that Chris Finch couldn't coach the games on the sidelines.
But why can't they put him on the bench?
I think it's his decision.
Oh, that's silly.
I think it's very silly. What do you think the Timberwolves should address this offseason? Now, the first thing that popped up when I put Karl Anthony Towns for playoff stats was 5 teams that he should get traded to. Do you think they trade Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert? I'll say they can't trade Rudy Gobert after giving 4 first-round picks.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to make too many big moves, Robbie. Like, obviously what they did this year worked. I mean, look at the team they lost to. We're talking about a Dallas Mavericks team that has taken this league by storm from pretty much. I mean, I don't want to say after the All-Star break because that might be a little bit too early on.
The trade deadline.
Yeah, trade deadline. Exactly. We'll say from the trade deadline on, this team has fucking been one of, if not the best teams record-wise in the NBA. So if you're the Timberwolves, you maybe take this offseason, maybe try to get a little bit more help off the bench. I mean, realistically, the big pieces
off the bench.
The big pieces, Robbie, like obviously Edwards isn't going to go anywhere. Like you said, with the amount of picks they gave up Rudy Gobert, you pretty much have to play this out because you're not getting fucking nothing like that in return. Ryan is saying a point guard.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about there. Well, I mean, Mike Conley was good for them. Mike Conley is actually great for them. I mean, they went from D'Angelo Russell to Mike Conley and got significantly better. And D'Angelo Russell, to me, is a very good player. But it speaks to the leadership that I mean, at one point, Zach, in case you didn't know, Mike Conley was the highest paid player in the NBA when he was in Memphis without making any sort of All-Stars because this guy has that impact of winning.
That is shocking news to me right there. I mean, obviously a great player, but that's a good trivia question right there. Because who the fuck's gonna guess that?
No,
but Robbie, I mean, I'm not really too sure. I don't think a big move is necessarily needed. What are your thoughts on it? What do you see them going here?
Timberwolves. I don't see him trading Karl-Anthony Towns. They're gonna run it back, but I think they need to find a sniper 3-point shooter in the offseason if all possible, or if they draft one in the second round, because I know their first round picks all went for Rudy Gobert.
See ya.
They have a reliable third scorer. They have Anthony Edwards, they have Karl-Anthony Towns, they have Naz Reid. Naz Reid was great. Was great.
But I mean, is that what you'd want as a reliable third scorer?
I think so. Naz Reid was the sixth man of the year for a reason. When there were games that Karl-Anthony Towns missed, he stepped up and he played big time.
Well, fair enough. But Robbie, that's
the West, so the East.
Yeah, I want to hear you talk about this Celtics dismantling of this very depleted fucking Indiana team and the
Pacers had 3 opportunities to go up 3-1. They blew it.
Yeah. Celtics didn't win this series. The Pacers lost this series. I think we can all agree. I mean, yeah, obviously they won it, but Pacers did not do themselves any help here.
No, and I kind of agree with what you're saying there. But at the same time, you have to give the Celtics their credit because they came back and they won those 3 games that they should have lost. You have to give them that credit. But the one thing that the Celtics need desperately, Jason Tatum's got to step up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thankfully they're going to be getting Porzingis back, so that they are getting another star in their lineup. But yeah, I agree. I think this is, especially too, this is a legacy series now for Tatum. I mean, he's been to the finals once before. They lost to the Warriors. They're going to be, I'd have to assume, decently heavy favorites going into this finals. I think they already opened up the first line as 6.5 points favored for them in the first game. So I think this is going to boil down to a possible legacy series for Tatum.
His first game in Boston?
Yeah.
Ooh, I might stay up for that.
First game. Well, I'm pretty sure Boston, yeah, they're first place, right, Boston?
Yeah. Ooh,
so
that's going to be interesting. Kyrie in Boston.
Yeah. Kyrie is going to be getting booed left, right, and center. That's obviously a storyline we're going to have to talk about. But, I mean, what happened is exactly what everyone thought was going to happen, Robbie. The Celtics, I guess maybe not what everyone thought was going to happen because, like you said, the Celtics very easily at one point could have been down 3-1 in this series. Mm-hmm. But, good teams find a way to win. Easy work for them against the Pacers. And now we move on to what I'm going to say, Robbie, is a pretty enticing NBA Finals.
It is. For the Pacers, I do want to say Rick Carlisle did a great job with this Pacers club this year. The future is bright over there in Indiana, but Halliburton has got to step up and show that Tyrese Halliburton that we saw before the in-season tournament. That version, the one that you said you said, I'm going to say right here, right now, you said he was a superstar. He hasn't been a superstar since the ending of that in-season tournament. Halliburton has to be that bucket getter. We know what you could do, passing the ball addition, but like you got to be the scorer too. You got to be that Luka. You got to be that Trae Young. You got to be that guy that could score and dish the ball. All right, because Siakam, he's not going to take you all the way to the end. He's not. It's got to be you. And they got to work on getting Siakam to stay because Siakam's a free agent.
And he wanted a max contract when he was with Toronto, so.
Indiana might have to cave in and give him that max contract. They might have to, Zach.
Oof. Good luck with that.
Good luck indeed. Okay, so we're previewing the NBA Finals here now, Zachary. The stage is set. Kyrie Irving going back for another 7 games, this time on the West Coast with the Dallas Mavericks. What happened last time Kyrie Irving faced the Boston Celtics, Zachary? Do you remember? I remember for sure.
Is that when he stepped all over their logo?
It was after all that.
Oh, no, I can't remember that.
When he was with the Brooklyn Nets, they got swept by the Boston Celtics in the first round. Swept. Mollywopped. Destroyed. Kyrie Irving has got to come into the series with a vengeance. You know what you're going to get out of Luka. You can put Derek White on Luka. You can put Drew Holiday on Luka. Luka's still going to get his buckets. It may not come easy, but Kyrie has got to step up. This has got to be his finals MVP. This is all about what could Kyrie do to help take the Mavs to that next step. And if you're the Celtics, Jason Tatum, we haven't seen this MVP version of Jason Tatum since the playoffs have started. Not against Indiana, not against Cleveland. That's what they need to see. So, Zach, here is my prediction. I know how excited you were. You're probably just going to blur it out. Okay. Zachary, my 2023-2024 NBA champions are I'm switching it up. I'm going Dallas Mavericks in 7. I've been saying the Celtics the whole way, but I just love the vibe that we're getting out of Dallas. I love how Lively has stepped up off the bench. I love how Gafford has been finishing at the rim. I like how PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr. have been stepping up. And I love the MVP, Luka Doncic, and the finals MVP, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I'll be taking the Mavericks in 6 myself, Robbie, and I think it all boils down to this.
No drum roll. Straight into
no drum roll. I'm getting right into this bitch. Mavericks in 6, and I'll tell you for this reason. Celtics, obviously, on paper, have the better team. But look at the amount of meaningful basketball that the Boston Celtics have played pretty much this entire playoffs. They've had somewhat of a decent, easy track to get there, where it has been the opposite end of the spectrum for this Mavericks team. They've had to take down fucking unbelievable teams.
Give the Clippers credit. The Mavericks to 7 games.
So I think just for the amount of meaningful basketball that the Mavericks have played, I think they're in that headspace now where that's just not going to stop. They're going to keep just being absolute dogs. You could look at it also, too, as maybe the fatigue might settle in because they've had to play a lot harder. They've had closer games. But I just think once
a lot of stuff, too. They had a lot of stuff.
And I think once you just get in that fucking mindset where you have tunnel vision, which I think all the Mavericks guys have right now. They have tunnel vision. And I think they're going to lead themselves right to a home victory in Dallas, Game 6, Mavericks for the championship.
I love it. But I think the better storyline is Kyrie Game 7 winning it in Boston. That would be awesome.
Well, that would be absolutely fantastic, and that would probably make the NBA so happy.
I'm sure it would. All right, Zach, that is our NBA Finals predictions and our NHL predictions. So I have the Panthers, you have the Oilers, we both have the Mavericks.
Who's going to love that? Yes, indeed, Robbie. I can see here you have some few more basketball notes to go over, though, my friend.
I do. So the first one we're just going to throw out of the way there. The Wizards are making their interim coach, Brian Keefe, to their head coach. They're 8-31 under him as the interim coach.
Okay, so, is that the guy? Is that the guy I just saw signed 3 years, $30 million?
No, I didn't add that on. I didn't add that.
Okay, because I thought that might have been the contract, and I'm like, if that's what the Washington fucking Wizards coach is getting, I would have been amazed.
I'm glad you said that because I would have forgotten to add on. The guy who's getting 3 years, $30 million is the guy who won the head coach of the year award last season from the Sacramento Kings, Mike Brown.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense.
He deserves it. He wanted $10 million a year. They were trying to niche him down to like 7 or 8, and then they end up giving the 10, which he deserves. This contract here, Zach.
Yeah.
Ty Lue with the Clippers for 5 years, $70 million, $14 million a year. Zachary, your thoughts on that?
What?
Am I the only one that sees him as like the most overrated head coach in the NBA? Like a Doc Rivers again?
He's exactly like a Doc Rivers. 5 years, $70 million, man. Maybe I'm just crazy. I, as an NHL fan, I look at head coaches. They make maybe $3 million a year in the NHL. If you're a great head coach, you're making 5. Ty Lue, an average head coach at best, making 14. Unbelievable. Way too much money, Robbie. That's my opinion.
I agree. I mean, this guy, we saw what happened the second LeBron and Kyrie out of Cleveland. He got fired after like 8 or 9 games. Maybe he has a way to connect with the superstars, but I mean, honestly, dude, Steve was so pumped up for these NBA playoffs. He said the Clippers are going to go all the way, and they got knocked out in the first round. I get it.
Man, Steve, you're catching so many strays from Robbie this episode.
No, I'm just trying to show like what Clippers fans are probably expecting going to. And could you blame them? Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi did play a couple.
I was just going to say, you almost fucking forgot the best player on the team.
But Kawhi missed a lot of games in the playoffs.
Not trying. What the fuck?
I'm not trying to go at Steve, but at the same time, Steve's been an OKC fan his whole life, and he said if it was OKC versus Clippers, he root for the Clippers. That's pretty gay.
Steve, that's fucked up, man. Because I'm an OKC guy.
That is gay. So, dude, you still have Paul George, you still have James Harden, you have Russell Westbrook, and you're still getting knocked out of the playoffs. Norman Powell was arguably their second best player. I just don't think that he has what it takes to make the Clippers go to the NBA Finals anytime soon. I don't. I think OKC is going to be in the uprise. If Luka and Kyrie stay at this level, Denver, I don't think the Clippers have a chance. I also think Paul George is out of LA.
Really?
That's the major key factor right there. Paul George is going. I mean, remember how high they were on Terrence Mann? Yeah. I did take the Mavs to 7, but I still don't think they're going to go to the NBA Finals anytime soon.
No, they won't. No, they won't make the finals. Because they just signed Ty Lue to fucking $70 million.
All right, Zach. So the Pelicans deferred the first round pick to the Lakers. So the Lakers get their number 17 pick instead of going back to 19. So, Zach, I ask you, LeBron James is set to be a free agent, and it looks like he is going to test the free agency market. So, Zach,
you asked me if they should take Bronny James. No. For fuck's sakes. If any team is stupid enough to pick that guy in the first round, I mean, honestly, even if I were him too, like, would I even really want to be in this position? Like, he knows if somebody picks him,
he wants it.
I know, but it's not like they're picking him because of his basketball skill. They're picking him for a chance that his dad will come and join their team.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were a kid like that has to live in a shadow like LeBron James, I would want to do my absolute best to kind of separate myself from that. Make my own name, which obviously I know is hard when your last name is James. It's physically impossible.
Below us is so different now, man. They're coddled, bro.
Yeah. So I don't know. Surprising, but if they take him with the 17th overall pick, that'd be fucking hysterical.
I think it would just set the franchise back almost like it did to Miami when Miami took Shabazz Napier, tried to keep LeBron, and he still left. I don't know. I just think that LeBron probably will test the market, either A, to get more money, or B, to go wherever his son goes. But if his son goes to Utah, will we see LeBron James in Utah? I doubt it.
I don't think no matter where his son goes. And also, I feel like LeBron is going to be that type of dad that would have some serious control as to where his son went. Like if a team like Utah or like a fucking even like a Milwaukee, like obviously I know Milwaukee's good, But he's like a team like a small market team like that were to go to draft. I think LeBron would try to get a say in there. Go no, wabba-dee-ba-da-ba-doo-ba-da.
Yeah, but that would do that, baby. Oh man, that's funny. That was good. Let me see what we got for NBA notes here on website here. That's basically all we got. Chicago, Network Air Bulls, Blackhawks, and Sox. No one cares about that. All right, Zach. So I guess that's basically it.
Can we before we finish off with baseball, because I noticed you didn't have us in the notes. Can I go over something real quick?
I do have a couple other things in notes outside of baseball, and if this is about Dustin Poirier,
yes, it is. Dustin Poirier. Looks like it is the end of an era for Mr. Poirier. He, for his third title fight attempt to win the undisputed world championship. He's now 0-3. All 3 fights he was tapped out. Khabib, Oliveira, and now Islam Makhachev.
And he had Oliveira too. He had him.
Yes, he was rocking his world in the first round, and then he got a little bit too overexcited, got rocked by Oliveira, and then we all know Oliveira on the ground. There's not too many motherfuckers that can fight with that guy, but what he did against Makhachev, Robbie, was inspiring. I mean, it started off rough for Poirier. We can agree with that. The first round, he gets the early takedown, Makhachev on Poirier, and didn't look back, just laid on top of him, kind of just gave him the ground and pound for 3.5 minutes straight. Then in the second round, you see Poirier breaks his nose on fucking Makhachev's forehead on a headbutt, which, I mean, just brutal luck right there. But even all this, and apparently he fucked his knee up too, I think it was in the third round. Even all this, though, Robbie, he did not stop. He was still stuffing takedowns, so many stuffed takedowns after that first round. Then he lands that fucking glorious elbow in the fourth and splits Makhachev wide open, and that gave Dustin Poirier fans like myself just that little glimmer of hope. And then, unfortunately, in round 5, Robbie, it was sucked right out of us when Makhachev got him in a choke and ended any chance Dustin Poirier had of becoming an undisputed UFC lightweight champion. And then after the fight, Robbie, it looks like he didn't officially fully retire, but he basically officially fully retired.
He hinted at it. I mean, it's a grind to get to a championship bout 3 times in a row to fail all 3 times. And the lightweight division is pretty damn packed too. So it's a grind to try to get there. So unless he tries to drip down to featherweight, or if he goes up to welterweight, which I don't think he's ever contended in, it's basically the end for him.
I think it's probably going to be the end for him now. I mean, the guy doesn't need to fight anymore. At this point, you're fighting just for the love of the fight. You know, he's made his money. He's got enough money to invest and stay fucking wealthy for generations. He's got his hot sauce, which I must say, this is a free plug. That shit is delicious. So, I mean, he's got a lot of things going for him. Like he said, he's got a young family. He wants to stay with them. It just would have been fucking awesome to see him go out on top. I was rooting so hard for him in that fight.
I think we all.
Yeah, it just you know what though, and I will say this: I'm one of the biggest Dagestanian and Russian fighter haters. I mean, I've said all the time, all they do is wrestle. I will say this about Islam and Khabib: those guys are 2 of the most respectful motherfuckers that have ever fought in an octagon. I mean, it's like you want to hate on them so much, and then you see the shit that they're doing after the fight, and it's like, how can you even hate on these guys?
I can hate on them.
I don't know. I think it's just the way that they're brought up, like with their religion. I think it's just like it's such a, like, I think respect is such a big thing for them, because you see all these, well, majority of them anyways, especially the big guys like the Habibs and the Islams. Maybe not so much the Hamzats, but a lot of them just they're just really humble people, it seems like. But I will say this, Robbie, that UFC card, besides that Dustin Poirier Makhachev fight, was a fucking snooze fest.
Yeah, honestly, dude, I didn't get a chance to watch the card. I was already like...
Well, you made a good call. I mean, Sean Strickland gets the win. He's in there saying he's going to be going through an all-out war, and he did this. Oh, shit, just kicked my laptop. Webcam down. Anyways, he was trying to show you. He's like throwing like little knee blockers up, just absolutely booted my laptop. That could have been bad.
That will be a clip. I'll make sure of it.
Oh, and, okay. Before we move on to MLB too, we have to discuss.
There's some other things to discuss too before MLB.
Sorry, I would like to ask you, Robbie, because you didn't see the fight actually. There was the Sean Strickland Paulo Costa fight. Sean Strickland at least won 4 rounds. I mean, Costa did fucking nothing. Strickland was getting some good shots on him, but wasn't landing power punches, but was landing volume.
Yeah, it's the same things he was landing.
Yeah.
Sonya.
So a couple of the judges had the scorecard anywhere from like 49, 46, somewhere in that region for Sean Strickland. And then one guy, 49, 46, Costa.
Yeah, I saw Dana White come out and say something about
but how is that guy even allowed to be there?
I don't know.
Anyways, Robbie, I've talked enough. You go on, sir.
Well, Zach, I'm just looking ahead to the next big UFC fight. And before we get to McGregor and Michael Chandler, which, by the way, the press conference is postponed. I don't know what that means potentially to the fight, but that is big news. That is big news. On June 22nd in Saudi Arabia, we have in the main event Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat. You could say the rest of the name. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Chimaev.
Thank you.
Is that a fight night?
That is a fight night.
Wow, that's a really good fight for a fight night.
12 p.m. start time, 3 p.m. the main card will begin. On the main card, you have Alexander Volkov versus Sergey Pavlich.
You said June 22nd?
June 22nd.
Oh. My buddy's getting married that day.
Can't go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I have to.
I'm just kidding. So that's before the week before Chandler versus Conor McGregor, which we look at that card again. Obviously, you have that. Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg, Mariah Bueno Silva versus Macy Chizian, Michael Venom Page is versing Ian Machado Gary, which unless Gary backs out again like a little bitch.
Yeah. What about, is Mackenzie Dern on that fight card?
Mackenzie Dern?
I know she's coming up for one soon.
No, she's not.
She got that beautiful Brazilian booty.
I agree with you on that. Zach, what do you think the favors between McGregor and Chandler?
Holy fuck. I'm going to have to say McGregor's probably a minus 200.
Well, they're both minus 110.
That makes sense. I guess that.
Michael Chandler's 38, but he don't look 38, bro.
I know he looks D's as hell, but you got to think, like, he's been inactive for just as long as McGregor.
Yeah, he's been weighing
and
card.
McGregor's been taking what we can only assume as a boatload of fucking steroids. These last year and a half.
Steroids, absolutely.
Yeah. Anabolic, bitch.
Chandler probably has too. I mean, this guy is swole.
Yeah, he's got 0% body fat.
Yeah, he's amazing. Ian Gary versus MVP. Who do you think's the favorite in that card? In that fight?
Probably MVP.
MVP's a plus 115. Gary is
okay.
35.
So a slight favorite.
Yep. Okay, Zach. So moving on from there, just a quick note with the NCAA for college basketball. As we know, a lot of the UConn guys have gone to the draft and have basically continue to go through the process, except for one man. Alex Caravan has announced that he is going to return. He will be a junior, and that is a big return for this UConn club. I mean, this guy is a sniper from 3. He probably got a feel what the draft process looks like, probably knows what he needs to do to improve his stock, and I think he's going to step up for UConn big time in year 3.
Bam, bam. Welcome back, sir.
Okay, and Zach, it's very rare we talk about soccer, but this has to be noted. It has been decided where Kylian Mbappe is going to go sign with, Zachary. Did you see who it is?
Yes, the recent Champions League winners, Real Madrid.
He is going to go into the La Liga, and he's going to go play for Real Madrid. A 5-year contract, a salary of $57.5 million per year, a signing bonus.
Nothing.
100, or it's euros, rather. A signing bonus of 100 euros. And I'm so glad he liked to go this route because I'm sure he got a significant, ginormous offer from Saudi Arabia. But
oh, my God, yeah.
I would have loved to see Mbappe go into the Premier League where we have the better competition. You know, you got all those teams over the Premier League, whereas La Liga, you have Atletico, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. But another big accusation there for Real Madrid and Barcelona. I don't even know how much of an effort they put into this, but they should have put a really good effort into it. I guess maybe they had not.
I don't know, but I've been hearing links to him to Real Madrid for years now, right? So I think maybe this is just a plan that's been set for so long where Barcelona they've probably been trying. He's probably like, no, I'm going to Real Madrid. And if you look at we're talking about success in Champions League alone. I mean, Real Madrid is blowing every single team out of the water.
They are right now. They are.
But Robbie, fuck soccer. How does that sound? Let's talk about some baseball and get out of this bitch.
We will have some soccer to talk about once the Olympics begin.
Yeah, I guess that's fine.
Okay, we got some baseball, and it's a lot of it, so we're going to try to go through this as fast as we can. Let's start with the first one, and Zach, I hate to ruin your happiness, but I'm going to ruin it. Alek Manaea leaves the game with elbow inflammation. Zachary, what's going on with Alek Manaea? Have you heard any updates?
No, Robbie, let me tell you right off the bat, don't give a fuck. That's
Really?
What's going on.
Really?
I've given up on this fucking pathetic Blue Jays team.
Oh,
we
no.
can't even
Here
we
comes
can't even beat we can't even beat anybody. And then I'm hearing Ross Atkins saying, no. We're not trading away Vlad or Bo or anyone like that. We're keeping these guys. Well, then what the fuck are we doing? Are we retarded? Yeah, I know, I said it. Are we a bunch of fucking retards? Because it's just like every single fucking year we're going through this. And you know what kind of sucks for Manoah? He was actually kind of starting to play pretty good. You know, he had I think a bad rough start before the game he got injured. Before that, was able to put a couple good starts together. And maybe it's a confidence thing, and now it's just like blum, knocked right back down to the bottom of the fucking totem pole. But hopefully it's nothing too serious. Hopefully there's no future Tommy John surgery or something like that that's going to pop out of it.
Opinion.
So that's obviously never good news, but I guess all you got to do is just wish him the best of recovery. Now move on.
Now, before I move on, what were your thoughts on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. playing third base? I believe it was yesterday, the first time since 2019.
I didn't see it, so I'm not exactly sure how he performed, but he can't be any worse than he is at first. So,
I mean, the dude lost all the way, and their main reason to move first base was how fat he was.
Yeah, maybe third is a better position for him. Maybe he's a little bit more mobile.
Are you sexually frustrated by this Toronto Blue Jays team, Zach?
Did you say sexually frustrated?
Yes, I did.
No, I'm not sexually frustrated.
Are you sure?
I'm just frustrated. But what can you do, Robbie? My team's a fucking pathetic group of losers. And it's just how we're going to be. But, Robbie, if we're talking about teams that are a pathetic group of losers, can we talk about this other team you have on your list here, Robbie?
Yes, we can. And I'm going to see if I can load up all these videos here of this gentleman. So, Zach, did you get a chance to go through all that transpired?
Oh, yes. Well, I just saw his post-game interview, if that's what you're talking about there.
So you didn't see before the post-game interview?
No.
Okay. So, Zach, are you still here?
Yeah.
Okay. There's something going wrong here with I might have too many things loaded up here, so I'm going to close them out because I had it there. Well, I can't load up Twitter all of a sudden, so that's bad.
Okay, fantastic.
So the video that we're talking about here, folks, was Jorge Lopez was getting rocked around by the Dodgers, and it got to the point where there was a check swing call that went down to third base for an appeal to see if it was a strike, and the umpire said no, he did not swing, and because of that, Jorge Lopez flipped out. The umpire ejected him. He walked over to his dugout all frustrated. He threw his glove into the stands, in which a fan caught it. And from there, Zachary, everything went haywire. Everything went absolutely haywire, bud.
Yeah. Well, if we can't load the video, Robbie, I'll basically, if you want, I can do a pretty good impersonation of it.
You definitely could, because Twitter has shit the bed on me.
Well, basically, I play for the New York Mets, and we're all a bunch of fucking pathetic fucking losers on this team. We are the worst team in the MLB, and I don't give a shit about me throwing my glove into the stands. Fuck that fan. And scene.
Let me see if I can load over here.
Okay, well, I thought I did a pretty good job there.
Well, so Jorge Lopez doesn't speak the best English. I never really necessarily.
I got the baseball, and these guys come at me, and I just try to throw my glove to the fans, and I play on the worst team in the MLB, and that is pretty much the best way to describe.
I, Robbie, have no correlation with that.
That's my Mexican accent, folks.
Yeah, I have no
Vida.
association. You know,
Vida.
I have no association with you. None.
Hey, bark, bark.
Yeah, it's weird because thankfully the internet hasn't pooped out to where we can kind of finish this episode as quickly as possible. But he basically came out and said that he feels like they're the worst team in the fucking MLB right now. But if you listen to it closely, it almost sounds like he says teammate. But regardless of the situation, the Mets didn't hesitate. And I think the Mets kind of mess up here too, because you didn't go and talk with him about it. You didn't listen to it thoroughly. You went through what you saw. Sources from SNY said you elected to DFA him immediately. I mean, the guy's frustrated. He's having nothing's been good for the Mets, and that's the standard that you set. I honestly think that Carlos Mendoza is doing a horrific, terrible job. They should never fire Buck Showalter from the beginning, and it's not going to get any better in Queens. So they got to figure out what they're going to do here. I mean, it's easy to say, well, why don't they just trade off Pete Alonso and try to trade off Lindor and try to trade off Bader and Severino and try to rebuild, but honestly, the Mets have been rebuilding for the longest time. And the only successful hitters I can think of in my lifetime that saved them for a good period of time: Pete Alonso, Jose Reyes, and David Wright. Daniel Murphy didn't play all that long with them. He went over to Washington. I think the Mets, I mean, Steve Cohen, Mike Wilbon, it doesn't matter who the owners is. The Mets are always going to be the Mets, Zachary.
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way, Robbie. It does kind of seem that way.
I'm just trying to load up the show notes because they disappeared on me. Okay, Zach, well, I wish I could show the video, but if I can't load up Twitter, then I won't be able to show the video, which I can't.
Well,
we had another situation where we had a couple of last week with the Chicago White Sox and the Baltimore Orioles with an interference call, and this time it's just like when the Marlins manager Skip Schumacher got ejected, the same race for Aaron Boone from a fan. Juan Soto was called out on interference trying to get back to second base as the fly ball is literally landing on the second base bag, and there's nowhere for Soto to go, and they call interference on Soto. It's a double play.
Yeah, they got to figure this rule out, Robbie. They got to figure this out.
Well, maybe they'll be able to figure out a little bit better, Zachary, because one of the most toxic, disgusting umpires of all time,
thank God,
has retired. Angel Hernandez has retired. It came shortly after we left the air last Monday. Zachary, your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I mean, this guy's been blind as a bat for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Missing calls left, right, and center, changing outcomes of games. And this, my friend Robbie, is so long overdue, but it's finally happened.
Zach?
I'm not even going to wish the guy well retirement. I'm going to wish him stay the fuck away from baseball. That's what I'm going to say to Angel Hernandez.
Well, did you know that he sued the MLB for racism because they didn't let him umpire the MLB playoffs games?
Oh, I wonder why they didn't. Maybe it's because you suck dick at your job.
Okay, Zach, so Twitter's back on. I got it. I have the video here. Would you like to see it?
Sure.
Okay, please hold. I got to do this whole process over again. So this is the Juan Soto incident where they called him out for interference.
Lost that one last night. High pop-up off the bat of Stanton. Into fly rule is called.
What are they supposed to do there?
See if they call interference. It would be a double play if they do. that Soto did not allow Neto to make the play.
What are your thoughts,
I
Zach?
saw this play.
I mean, yeah, that one's definitely nowhere near as worse as the one that was called last week. I'll say that.
Terrible, bro. It's terrible.
But
I think my bias out here.
Catch.
like I mean, he does really have nowhere to go. Not to mention, it looks like the guy that's about to catch that ball is kind of making his way past the second base line, and then it does that adjustment into him. Yeah, that's a brutal call. That angle shows it a lot better there.
Right back into him because he had kind of misjudged the ball. Look, he backs up into him.
Aaron Boone ends up getting ejected. I love Aaron Boone ejections, bro. Look at this guy.
And that's the crew chief that made the call, Vic Carapazza.
I think Aaron Boone is also that's an infield fly rule. So
That's the one video I want to show you. Now, if I get a chance to show the Jorge Lopez incident, because I was literally about to just show it, and then Twitter crashed on me. Okay. Here it is, X. So this was Jorge Lopez.
Will Smith home run capped by a Shohei Ohtani.
Ohtani's first home run here at Citi Field.
You didn't homer here with the Angels last year?
Someone just got tossed by Ramon De Jesus.
Who was it?
Who knows?
I think it was the third base umpire. Yeah, it was De Jesus.
Yeah. De Jesus has got a short fuse.
And he threw Lopez out of the game. What's that all about?
I don't know.
Did you hear what I said there?
No.
The commentator, they go, who got thrown out? The other one goes, who cares?
Jesus
So here comes
Christ.
They saved them.
Well, that's adding insult to injury.
Because now the Mets have to bring in a cold reliever, right?
Bring a position player in now.
That's frustration.
Gotten worse.
Whoa.
And Lopez responds by tossing his glove up over the netting and into the crowd.
I mean, not a good look. Let's be honest.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Okay. Last one, Zach. I mean, we have Tommy Pham, the incident. I don't know if you got a chance to saw it. It's nothing really
Yeah,
big.
I wrote that in there because the reason I wrote that in there is because the Chicago White Sox announcers are the biggest losers of all time. Did you hear these assholes?
Dude, the Chicago media market is all like that, dude. They're all the big.
We're not going to take that. I don't care how many L's we have this year. We're not going to take that. Like, buddy, you're a fucking geek in a goddamn commentator box. You're taking it all.
All right, I got it right here.
No volume, no volume, no volume. Still no volume. Still no volume. There's no volume. There's no volume.
I say something a lot earlier.
I was saying it the entire time. You guys just didn't fucking hear me.
That's depressing. Okay, I'll just get to the me taking that part.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a lot for the podcast. My apologies.
Something like that. And now home plate umpire Edwin Jimenez has to hold back Pham. Nah, we ain't taking that. We ain't taking that from the Brewers. I don't care how many L's we got this year. We ain't taking that.
Oh my God, what a fucking loser.
Yeah. That's
First
damn
of all,
that's crazy.
I have Contreras in my fantasy baseball, and I'm going to give you a message right now. What are you doing? If you're going to go at somebody, could you pick a smaller, not as muscular individual as fucking Tommy Pham? You have to go after that guy out of all people?
Tommy Pham would fuck a lot of people up in this
He
league.
would rip him to fucking shreds.
Nothing
Anyways.
came out, thankfully, outside of
Yeah.
Tommy Pham saying this is why I trained to fight in the offseason so I could fuck someone up.
And that from Contreras, I've seen that going, fuck me.
All right, Zach. Last one here. Edwin Diaz lands on the IL with shoulder inflation. That explains all the blown saves. Luis Heel dominated the month of May with the Yankees, the rookie. 6-0 and a .50 ERA during the month of May. He was, and speaking of dominating the month of May as well, Aaron Judge dominated the month of May. Dominated. The Yankees didn't lose a single series in the month of May. I can't tell you the last time that's ever happened for the Yankees or a baseball team.
That must be nice.
They haven't lost a single series, and they're only 3 games up on the Baltimore Orioles in the AL East, and both teams are surging. Last topic of conversation here, Zachary. So the MLB has announced that their statistics will be combined with the Negro League statistics, which is going to result in some major changes in the result of Josh Gibson surpassing Ty Cobb as the highest average in baseball history, in American baseball history.
I've never heard of any of those two guys.
You never heard of Ty Cobb?
Which one's the black guy?
Josh Gibson.
Okay, that makes sense. Not really. Actually, I probably would have guessed Ty Cobb, but
So I'm going to name up. You know Jackie Robinson.
yes.
Have you ever heard of Satchel Paige?
I'm going to stop you right there. Jackie Robinson's probably the only one I know.
Oh, God almighty. Sweet Jesus, Mother and Lord. Well, Zach,
I'm ready to learn, though.
I don't think you are. Do you see anything wrong with combining the Negro League statistics with the MLB statistics, or do you think that anything different?
I mean, they're two different leagues, so I mean, I guess it's a little bit like why are they being combined? Should be MLB statistics, should be Negro League statistics. There should be AAA statistics. There should be Carl, we are getting out of here too, brother. We appreciate you staying.
We are.
Pretty well right to the end with us, brother, and we will see you next Monday. And you have yourself a great week, my friend. You have yourself a great week.
So at the end of the day, Zach, here's what I have to say about the whole situation. If you're going to combine the Negro League statistics with the MLB statistics, then those players that have come from Japan into the MLB, their stats should be combined too.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to,
I'm not saying it based off of like some sort of racial thing. I'm trying to base it off of, we got a chance to see Jackie Robinson in the MLB with the Negro Leagues, which was fantastic. He broke the barrier. It's incredible. We've also seen a lot of good players, I think, also like start off in the Negro Leagues and go in the MLB. I could be wrong about Willie Mays. I'm sure there's a lot more outside of Jackie Robinson that I would love to learn about. But arguably, I mean, for me, the greatest hitter that I ever see in my own eyes in terms of just making contact with the ball and getting hits is who, Zachary? From Japan. You could do this.
Shohei, we're talking about?
Oh, you know this.
Ichiro.
Ichiro Suzuki.
Yeah.
Ichiro Suzuki has the most career hits combined with Japan and MLB, passing Pete Rose. I think if we're going to do that, we should also bring in those type of statistics too. We should see Ichiro's, Matsui's, Daisuke Matsuzaka.
Yeah, because what's the difference between? Because I agree with you. What's the difference between the Negro League stats and the Japanese League stats, whatever that one's called?
I don't think it's much of a difference. I mean, if you remember the World Baseball Classic, it's basically Japan or USA or Tokyo,
fucking Dominican,
or the Dominican or Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Those are like the dominating. Those are the dominating countries of baseball. Now that leads into conversation of, do you combine the Puerto Ricans and Dominicans? But it's very rare that you see them, Puerto Rico or the DR, combined together. If you had told me Cuba, I can understand Cuba.
Yeah, it's a little shocking.
But I also get what they're trying to do. They're trying to give us a history lesson of what the Negro League. I mean, it's not based off of skills act. The reason why, you know what I mean? I mean, the Negro Leagues wasn't about a difference of skill. It was about a difference of skin color. There's a lot of good players that I hope you will find out that played in the Negro Leagues that never got a chance in MLB because they were black.
Which, I mean, obviously is not right.
No, it is not. So, that's it for MLB, Zachary. I think that's all we got. I mean, it's 8:20 here live.
We're almost at 2 hours.
Zach, I'm going to do a better job this week. Last week was a crazy busy week. And with your boy working overtime hitting up the gym, a lot of softball, a lot of golf. By the way, broke 100, Zachary. I broke 100. I shot a 96 on Saturday. 96.
I'm still at my, I believe 2 or 3 years in a row. I'm at all under 100 rounds. But they're hovering at like 98.
Do you have to,
consistently? I'm actually pretty good.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. All right, folks. That's it for today's episode of the Sports Cave. We had a busy, jam-packed episode. We'll see if we have the same thing for you next Monday. But if you get a chance, like, subscribe, send it to your friends. Help Zach and I do this just every Monday. This is what we rather do than our regular jobs. And with that being said, Zachary, take us on out. After your yawn.
Holy fuck me. 2 hours long, folks, for this podcast. And it was a howitzer. Folks, I'm not going to leave you guys waiting too much longer, so I will leave you with this. Stay sexy. Sports Cave.